What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Nick with Leverage Media. Welcome to another episode of Path to a Million podcast. I'm here with two of my new friends, Randall B. Johns and Rob Vasquez. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. Thanks for having us.
With the Happy, Healthy Life. And we're going to dive into kind of what your guys' lives have evolved into, your background, but just to give people some ideas of like who you are, where you came from, both chiropractors. Just give the audience a little background on you.
Yeah, a little background on us. Both chiropractors by profession.
Yep.
Built large practices, doing our thing that way.
From Parker.
Yeah, from Parker. Yeah, and so really just
we're here at the Parker seminars.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for us, it's just really always been about how do we communicate the chiropractic principles and philosophies to people and help them to be able to apply that to their lives. And so that's really what it's always been. For Happy Healthy, it's always been about helping more people to live a happier, healthier life. Who doesn't want to do that?
I mean, it seems like a pretty easy sell.
It's a great clinical outcome, right?
That's right.
More
happy and healthy
people.
That's right. That's right.
The world could use more of that.
So where did you guys have your practices?
So I'm in Dallas. My practice was in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Okay.
And then I grew up in a small town, Texarkana, Texas. In northeast corner of Texas, where I grew up, went back and practiced there for 15 years.
I grew up in Round Rock, so right outside Austin.
Oh,
yeah.
Sure.
So Texas boys all around.
Absolutely.
Longhorn fan, hopefully.
Sure.
Maybe.
Sure. I went to UTSA, so run them over.
All right.
Run them over,
I
runners.
spent a year at UTSA.
Did you? Nice.
I did. I'm from San Antonio originally.
That's awesome. Look at all this, all these common connections.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys built practices. You guys were friends from chiropractic school, or even before that?
Yeah, you want to talk to that, how we met?
Yeah, so I had heard about, I was going to Parker at the time, and I heard about this doctor who's doing really well, seeing around 300 patient visits per week, all cash, really teaching his patients, lots of families, kids. I'm like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
So, of course, what do? Great people who don't know anything, or they just go model after people who are doing what you want to do. So I'm I'm going to go see this guy.
Success leaves clues, right?
I got all dressed up, want to impress this guy, show up. He says I was wearing like a see-through.
He looked like he was getting ready to go to the club.
I think he always looks like. I just met him in person today, but I have a feeling he always looks like he's ready to go to the club.
It's a thing.
No, I thought I showed up very professional, but what I realized very quickly when I showed up at his office was this guy's heart was so real.
Yeah.
Patients loved him, and he was making a big impact. And so basically I hired him without paying him a dime.
He did.
To basically follow him around and learn everything I could learn.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if I could just do half as good as this guy, I think I've done something.
Yeah.
And of course, that's how the friendship, we became more than just a business relationship, became best friends. And he mentored me when I first got into practice. And then, of course, fast forward 20 years later, here we are. But one of the things that Dr. Rob inspired in me was to teach people the principle of chiropractic, which is what is the most valuable thing we can give people. Because chiropractic really isn't about moving an atlas or correcting somebody's spine. It's about teaching people how to not interfere with what's already been made perfect, right?
Right.
And so health is the norm, disease is the abnorm. People don't get that. And so one of the problems we found in practice, and a lot of people listening are finding this, is that your reach is really not as broad as you'd like it to be because you're in that brick and mortar practice.
Yeah.
So we knew at some point we were going to have to do something different to get the message out to more people, which we'll probably get to in a second with both of us losing our own health, how Happy Healthy was born, and how we're still sharing the incredible principle of chiropractic, but in a whole new digestible way where people can consume it, accept it, live it, love it, and not come across sometimes, as we used to do in practice, a little abrasive or from a place of fear versus a place of confidence and certainty and just loving and owning what we know is the greatest principle that it's changed my life. How about you?
Absolutely.
I mean, what's changed our life?
We would not
more?
be here if not for chiropractic.
I love it, man. And it's saved my life, which hopefully we'll get to here in a little bit, but I know it saved your life as well.
Yeah, so something I'll say about him during that time when he came to the practice, something about Randy that anybody can be able to learn from. As far as the success process goes, is he was willing to do anything. So he would literally after he left that day would call me up on the phone and say, hey, I'm going to start my practice. What would be the first steps? And I would go do this, this, and this. And he would there was no pushback, no question. Okay.
Aren't those the best?
And
it's like those are the people that get the results.
Totally. Every time.
Yeah.
Pushback guys never do well.
No.
It was done. And so he would call every single day. every single day. So he'd even when he finally opened up his practice, he'd be in there. He would do whatever it is that we talked about, and something may not go as planned, and he'd go, "Hey, this happened today. What could I do to be able to improve that?" I'd say, "Well, try this, this, or this," and then he would do exactly those things, and as a result, built one of the largest practices in chiropractic history, and it did it really rapidly. I'm like, man, I wish I could have done it that fast, but it was because he's a great student. But better than being a great student, he applies what it is that's being taught, which is super refreshing.
And he's great at finding the best teachers, it sounds like.
So
it's
aren't
not
we
that
all,
hard,
right?
Find somebody who's doing something great and just go bother the heck out of them.
Just duplicate.
Right.
And when I tell you that I bothered this guy, seriously, I wouldn't leave him alone because I just wanted to learn and implement, and I was so hungry for that. And I knew that I knew just enough to screw it up. Yeah. But what I did know is that I would do anything like you said. I would put the work in. I would learn. I'd humble myself, because that's the biggest mistake we see with people, like we said, who struggle, is they think they know it all, right? Or they say, "I'm already doing that," which is the worst thing to hear. You're not already doing that.
It was funny. I would even like kind of even make up things maybe that I hadn't tried just to see how it worked.
Sure.
And just tell him.
I'm just curious.
Tell him that one time
and he
you
goes,
told me,
and I go, "You freaking did that?" I'm like, "Oh my god!" And it worked.
Dude, tell him about that time you told me to go into that reported findings. We were doing group reported findings at the time. Yeah. And share what you told me to do.
I go, "Here's how you're going to know that everybody is absolutely 1,000% committed to whatever it is that you're saying to do." I go, "Before you end, I go, if you'll tell them, hey, look, if you are committed and you know that this is something that you want to do, you're ready to start chiropractic care, then what I want you to do is I want you to get out your wallet or your checkbook or cash and just pull it out. Hold up, if you got credit cards, hold up those credit cards. That lets me know that you're ready to go. If you've got your checkbook, hold up your checkbook. That lets me know that you're ready to go. If you're not committed and you know that you're not ready to go, then you guys can go ahead and exit.
And you can get the fuck out of here.
You guys can go ahead and exit. I still love you, and I may not have even said that. Yeah. And then I'm like, so let me know how it goes. Yeah. And so he thought I was actually doing this. Yeah. I hadn't been doing that.
He didn't think I was actually going to do it.
Sure.
You can't tell me that.
So that night he calls me up and he's like, man, he's like, that was awesome. He goes, I did it. Everybody in the room started. Checkbooks were up in the air. Credit cards were up in the air. People started, and I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, holy shit, no way. It really worked. So I did it the next day too. So.
How'd it go for you?
It went great.
There you go. So now you guys know how to close people.
It worked. I'll say this. It worked great a couple times, and after that, not so great.
Good. We don't advise using that.
Don't do that if you're listening. No. Don't do that. It was terrible advice. I just wanted to see if he would do it.
But the test was, I'm going to tell him to do something. I'm going to see if he does it. But it's all about taking massive action. Right. And that's where the real results happen.
Yeah, and I was just having this conversation with my daughter the other day. I took her to a basketball game as a date. She was really affected by the Kobe Bryant thing and his daughter. And so I said, you know what, I'll get tickets. We'll go to the game. And so we're sitting there at the game. And my mentor from when I was in chiropractic school was actually there on the floor. And so we were a couple rows back, and she sees me, and I hadn't seen her in like 20 years. Yeah. She was doing a lot of sports chiropractic. I always wanted to do that. And so she was speaking at a Parker seminar, and she said that if there's any students that are here that want to learn, go ahead and show up to my office, and I'll help you. Well, I showed up at her office like that next Monday morning. Sure. And come to find out, later on she was talking to me, she was like, you know what, you are the only person that actually showed up. Yeah. And so I told her, I'm like, I will do anything. I will clean the waste baskets, I'll greet people at the front desk, I'll clean the toilets, I'll do anything. I don't want you to pay me anything. I just want to be here to learn. Yeah. And through that process, I got to be able to hang out, really meet some really influential people in sports. I remember Troy Aikman, who was the quarterback at the Cowboys at the time, would come in there. Mike Madonna, who played for the Dallas Stars. And because of that, though, it enabled me to be able to then travel with men's professional volleyball tour. It opened a lot of doors that would not have been open. And I learned a lot of valuable things. And so when we were at the basketball game with my daughter, she's like, how do you know her? And I told her the story because she sees that this, she's down there. She's the chiropractor for the Dallas Mavericks. Yeah. And so she's like, how did you meet her? And I told her that story. And she's like, I got it. So it's really cool to be able to see my daughter, who's 12 years old, picking up on those things. And because of the things that she wants to do, she plays volleyball. And it really inspired her then to be able to also then contact the people that were the best in the world at playing volleyball, to be able to do that. So like you said, success leaves clues. You just have to be willing.
Yeah.
You know, when it asks you to show up, you need to listen and be willing and take action and show up. It really is as simple as that. But I think a lot of people nowadays will question, well, what am I going to get out of this?
Right.
Why would I do something like that for free? I'm going to have to drive over there. What if I don't like it? Just all of these different things start playing in the head. You just really have to answer that one question: am I willing? What am I willing to do? And then take action on that.
Well, not only just to show up, but like that was an offer and you took it. You're a little bit different. You're just like, I'm going to go after what I want. Like, so like we're here at Parker. I have talked to 0 people this weekend about Leverage Media, the thing that I have a booth for, right?
Yeah.
But I have a podcast studio here because this is where a lot of great speakers are, people like you guys that if I could reach out to you on Facebook and like we could probably do a Zoom interview, but it's just not the same as when we're sitting here in the same physical space. And so like I reached out to you guys because I'm like, you know, I see them doing interesting things. My friend Margie's told me good things about you. Right. So I'm just like, I wanna talk to these guys because I think that they'll bring value to the listeners. So it's like, go after what you want and then like show up, follow up, like do what it takes to like, who cares about whether you would have made minimum wage there? The information that you learn, the examples that you learn, the people that you met is like, there's no way to put a price on that.
Absolutely. No, that's so key.
Yeah. So let's get into, I do want to give them some advice because you guys have just built massive practices and I want to give them some advice at each of the 4 stages. Okay. And then I want to talk more about your guys' story, happy, healthy life, all right?
Yeah,
so great. 0 to 250, coming out of school, leaving an associateship, maybe buying a practice, it's kind of like basically dead and they're having to like, bring it up from the ashes. What was it that when you started, because you just basically did whatever you told you, so that getting coaching I think is a good example of what you should be doing. Don't try to be like me where I try to figure it all out myself. Right. When you started, did you start from scratch? Did you buy a practice?
So the way I did it, so I had that mentor that we talked about. She introduced me to a guy that had some space in his practice.
Yep.
And so I just leased space out of his practice. So I was an independent contractor coming right out. I remember I wanted to have, the big practice, the nice practice. The reality is I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a rich uncle or anything like that. So I went to 27 different banks to get a loan to start up, and every single one of them turned me down.
What year was this?
Gosh, that was 1997.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, 1997.
Yeah.
And I was going to all these banks when I was still in school, so I hadn't yet graduated, and I knew this is what I wanted to do. Got turned down. And then this opportunity came along. It wasn't going to cost me anything to go in there. I could be an independent contractor, make a percentage based off of what it is that I brought in.
Sure.
So I was still working for myself. And so a lot of the way I started was coming to places like this. I went to all the Parker seminars. I would sit in people's talks that were doing what it is that I wanted to do. And then I would just replicate what they were doing. So, I mean, really, it was as simple as that. If somebody said you needed to go to all the Chamber of Commerce meetings to be able to make connections there. That's what I did. I was a member of every one of the Chamber of Commerces in my area that I was going into before I even graduated.
Yeah.
So I was already going to those meetings, meeting people, and I remember even back at the time, I didn't know what it is that I was doing. I didn't know really who to talk to, but it was just about showing up, talking to those people, and learning. And so that's really how I built it. From 0 to 250 was just about talking to as many people as I could talk to in my community. If there was a school that was close by, I was going into the school. I remember I knew I wanted to do talks. I didn't know how to do talks. I didn't know how to do a workshop. I knew I needed an overhead projector. And this is back when you had like the film on top of it, right? The marker that got all over your hands, that stuff.
Like there are people that don't know what we're talking about.
They have no
like
idea,
somebody,
right?
There's a lot of people who
somebody yesterday was talking about rotary phones, and I'm like, there's people that are listening that don't know how to use that.
No idea.
Never seen one.
So I knew I needed
Rolodex.
Yeah.
Right.
So I knew I needed one of these projectors, and I couldn't have. I didn't have any money to buy one. So I went to an element. I was making copies down the street, and back then it was before you could even edit things like on your computer. It was like that copy was like things were like all taped to this piece of paper, right? So this lady was like, I was asking, do you know where I could get an overhead projector? There happened to be a teacher that was there. She overheard me. She goes, why don't you try the elementary school that I'm a teacher at? It was in the summer, and so there's no schools going on. She's like, maybe there's somebody there. I go to the elementary school. I'm like literally banging on the door. You couldn't do that nowadays.
Right.
There's some security measures right in place. But I'm banging on the door, and this lady comes to the door, and I said, hey, you know what, I'm this new doctor in the area. So-and-so said to come down here. I'm I'm looking for an overhead projector. Her name was 𝗀𝗲𝗄𝗃 𝗵𝗲, the assistant principal. I'll never forget her name. She goes, come on in.
Yeah.
And she was brilliant the way she did this. She goes, I will give you an overhead projector and you can have it, okay? If you'll come in and speak to the classes. We need people to come in and speak to the students, always to read books. And I go, okay, I'll do it. Next thing you know, the school year starts up and I'm speaking there every single week and speaking to these first grade classes. And what that did is that got me in to be able to have a relationship with not only the assistant principal, but the principal and then all the teachers.
Right.
And then because of that, they let me have carte blanche. I did like a Kids Day America. That got me into every single...
I did that, when I first started,
Yeah, so Kids Day America got me into every single elementary school just from that one thing right there. So to answer your question, that's how I got from 0 to 250 was just creating relationships in the community, because I didn't know how to run a business. I had one chiropractic assistant. I didn't know how to manage staff or do any of those things. I was doing all of those things, and it was cool because now I look back on it, they got to see that I was willing to do those things. So there wasn't anything that my chiropractic assistant wasn't going to do, because she knew Dr. Rob was going to be willing to do whatever it takes.
Go ahead, what were you saying?
Oh, no.
Oh, I was just going to say, because of the structure of the show, I ask a lot of smart people that have blown through $1 million, like, what have they done along these paths? And they're just and the reason why I ask everybody, I have that structure, is so that the people listening that are at that stage hear that, like, the smartest, the best ones, the ones that you look up to, were where you were. They didn't have the stuff they have now, but they had their time and they had their hustle. And the ones that make it to the 1,000 visits a week, that make it to the $1.5 million, they all started with the mentality of, I'm willing to do whatever. Like what you were talking about when you wanted to get started. It's like, I'll do whatever, you know?
It wasn't do the best you can, right?
Right.
It was, I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And that really is the difference, right? Because we can give you X's and O's. When they say it's all about the Jimmys and the Joes.
Yeah.
It's all about what's in your heart, what motivates you.
Yeah.
I have a very similar story. I didn't have any money either. You come out of school, we're all $130,000, $40,000 in debt. At least I was. And,
you're going to the clubs all the time.
I
like,
know.
Bottle service is expensive.
Drinks, man, we're like $15 a pop, and everything I was spending money on was a loan, so I'm paying interest on it.
Right.
I thought I was rich. I had a $40,000 loan. I wasn't thinking I'd ever get to pay back interest.
Yeah, right.
What I should have done is put all that money away. I would have had my business loan when I graduated and lived on less.
Right.
Because when I came back to town, I got laughed out of every bank as well. And I'm thinking, what the heck am I going to do? So what I did was my parents actually put up their home as
crazy.
Collateral to secure a $60,000 line of credit and a $35,000 loan from the bank. So if I don't succeed, my parents lose their home.
Yeah.
That's some leverage right there.
Let's just put it this way. I was leveraged.
Yeah, right. That's right.
And they believed in me, and they knew I was going to do what it was going to take.
Yeah.
Long story short, with them, following this guy around and all the other mentors and coaches. And there was a doctor in Austin that I drove down to go see. I'd heard he was seeing like 600 a week. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go see this guy. So I was driving and going everywhere and doing whatever.
Yeah.
But within a couple, 3 months, I'm super profitable. I never even had to use the $60,000 line of credit. I was able to turn that $35,000 loan around quick. Yeah. But it all came from that leverage and that desire. And I was kind of like Dr. Rob. I didn't know what the heck I'm doing. I'd never run a business. I'd never been an owner of anything or managed employees. So I kept it very simple. So I think one of the keys at that 250 range, it was me and one other person. Yeah. And I think a lot of times we build too big a clinic, we hire too many staff initially before you get your hands dirty.
That's right.
I was taking out the trash. I was the x-ray tech.
Yeah.
I was the front desk if need be. I did everything. 900 square foot office, only one exam room, and it doubled as my re-exam room, my x-ray room.
The restroom.
The restroom. Seriously, my restroom literally sat out in the hot seat area. So, and everything echoed and reverberated out of that room. So like nobody had privacy. Yeah. And it didn't matter, man.
Awesome.
We had that place full of people because people just wanted to go where it was right. And it was right because it wasn't about the building or the carpet or any of that stuff. That's sometimes in our head. Yeah. We think we have to build to go make $1 million. Yeah. It's not what you make, it's what you keep.
That's right.
I kind of missed that $8,000 overhead every month out of that small little spot where we saw so many people. Yeah. I think I got up to like 750 a week out of the 900 square foot office before I built the the Taj Mahal.
Right.
Which, once again, like you triple your income, but you're still like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Did I really triple
Am
my
I
income?
am I making the same amount as I was out of the 900?
Exactly.
It's funny. The first practice that I associated in, after a couple months, he offered to sell it to me, and I went to the bank, and my dad is a banker at a local bank, and so he had some connections, so I was able to get the loan, but they were going to do an SBA, and it was going to take 2 months. So he put his house up. He did a second mortgage for me as well, and it's like, man, you want to talk about the pressure to get your ass going.
What'll get you out, a screening or doing a talk? It's if your parents lose their home if you don't go out there and hustle.
That's right. So tip number 1, get a mortgage on your parents' home to force you to go do something.
Time, leverage yourself where if you screw it up, people's lives are destroyed.
That's right.
That's really our message at the Happy Healthy headquarters.
Have so much stress in your life.
Yes.
Have just the axe hanging over your head at all times.
It's always guillotine mentality.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. So how quickly did you get to the $20,000 a month mark, and how quickly did you?
The $20,000 a month mark, that probably happened within about 6 months.
So it was pretty quick for you. And
I mean, mine was even quicker because I was learning off everything he'd already screwed up. So I was already, I think my very first month in practice, I did $35,000. It was all cash.
And again, it's like, I like to hear that because it's like, it's possible. Like my thing is like, if I look at you and I'm like, I don't know, they seem like normal guys. I could do that. That's possible.
Yes.
You just have to know what's possible out there. Like I was talking to somebody the other day that, is it 𝗀𝗂𝗆𝗆? Somebody was talking to me about his practice. He sees like 4,000 people a week. I'm like, okay, that means that's doable. Like whether you want to do it or not, it's possible. It's possible to collect $35,000 in your first month. So it's like, it's out. You don't have to like slowly struggle along is the point.
I think if that was the value too, the beauty of going and seeing other doctors that were doing it, it did make it real. Like, it is, oh wow.
Yeah.
It is
in practice or in school, like you have no idea. Like you're just like around a bunch of other knuckleheads that don't know anything either. Even when you get out of school, they're all just kind of struggling along, so you think that's normal instead of surrounding. That's why I love coaching, and I wish I had started coaching earlier in my career because it's like you just got to be around people that were doing it. And I'm just like if I see it done, I'm like, okay, well then it's I'm the reason it's not happening if someone else is doing it.
I'm the exact same way because I would look at people, I'm like, there's really not anything special about that person, and not that they're not a great person, but it's not like they have a cape or anything. They're not Superman.
They don't have a constant thumb.
I'm being politically correct now, but I would be really judgy. I'd be like, that guy's not that cool. Like I feel like I'm better at life than he is. I could do this.
Exactly, same.
All right, so you got to the 250 range. Now going to that 500. So. Now's the part where it's not as simple anymore. Maybe you're not able to do it all yourself at this point. Like, what were the things that really allowed you to accelerate through that next stage?
That's really simple for me, and we already talked about it. That was when I hired a coach.
Got it.
Somebody that can actually to mentor me and say, hey, I could be able to see, because at that point at 250 a week, I'm like, you know what? Well, my goal is to be able to see 1,000 a week.
Well, so I mean 250 to 500K in collections.
200 to 500K. Yeah, for me, that was exactly it. Getting a coach, right? So getting a coach so that I could also make sure that the money that I was collecting wasn't, going right out the window.
Right.
And knowing what to do from a business standpoint, knowing what to do as far as hiring the right people, know how to make sure that I've got an accountant that's doing my bookkeeping, so it's no longer me in QuickBooks. On a Friday, not only doing QuickBooks or doing notes and doing all of those different things to be able to free me up. It was having people show me and go, hey, this is what you need here, this is what you need here, and just doing it, just doing it dumb.
Yeah.
In other words, not asking questions. Go, okay, that makes sense.
Have you ever seen that GIF of like the little girl throwing the money out the window? It's like a black and white, and she's just like throwing like $100 bills out the window. I always feel like that's like my business plan most of the time, just like throwing cash out the window. You said like making sure it didn't go out the window. I was like, that reminds me of that, but yeah.
Because cash can go quick. And you don't
if it's in that bank account, I'll figure out some way.
Biggest mistake you'll make, right, is that it's got money in there. That money has a purpose, and it has to get moved, and it goes somewhere every single time. So I think that's key too, because one of the things when you start going from that 250 to that $500,000, you got to get really in depth with the numbers. Like you got to know your stuff. You got to know got to know every single detail about the practice. And a lot of docs get really sloppy with that. Like, if I was
because it's like, I'm doing so great. Like, why do I need to worry about this?
Let's go out to eat.
Yeah, but then it's a revolving door. You end up with a front-end loaded practice. You're not keeping anybody, or money's being spent. You're not even aware of it because you're not looking at it.
Yeah.
You don't know, and it's all in the details, really. So what if your show rate now goes from 70% to 78%? What does that look like financially?
Right.
It's that
and
type
those
of
like
stuff.
those inches, I always think of that that quote from Any Given Sunday,
Yes.
or that speech, where it's like, you know, the inches, like, I love it. It's like the inches all around us are our life. You know, and in business, it's for sure. Like that 3% makes a difference.
Yeah, and then it goes back to like your staff and who you're bringing on, and they're an extension of you. So remember, what you don't look at and inspect, they don't even respect that. And so just listening in on maybe them answering the phone and how that conversation goes, sometimes it's mortifying to find out what's going on. So if you're not putting the time in training your team, they're not that extension of you and sharing that vision with them, you're never going to grow the practice. And it's never going to produce the cash flow it should, because it's still it's too sloppy. And we have a tendency as chiropractors sometimes to get really sloppy, and it's not acceptable, you know, and it doesn't have to be.
So, and that was really for myself. That was when came with the coaching, the introduction of systems. You know,
who was your first coach?
So my first coach was 𝗀𝗸𝗆𝗆𝗆 and so he's in Pennsylvania. And then after 𝗀𝗀𝗆𝗆𝗆, it was 𝗀𝗪𝗓 waiting list practice. So did that. Then after that, it was, back then in those days, it was Body by God that eventually became Maximized Living. So those were my early coaches. But as I say that, I also would hire coaches in other areas as well. And so then I hired a financial coach to be able to help me with the financial part of things, like we said. So I wasn't literally throwing money out the window. I was actually.
I'm going to send you that gift so just so you guys, because it's fun.
No, I still feel like that a lot of times. So still, you know, even with the coaching. So it was more systems around all those different aspects of life.
And how quickly did you guys get to that $40K a month? It was in the first year?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 40K
well, you were
was,
35 in the first month.
40K was after that 6 months and moving through. 40K happened really quickly.
Because you like kind of figured out all the, like, once you got it, like flywheel, you know, like once you get that momentum, it just starts like taking off. So that next step, 500 to $1 million. So this is where I feel like a lot of guys get stuck. Did you guys blow through that, or was it something where that's where you started to struggle a little bit with continuing the pace of growth?
I think for the pace of growth, that happened for myself, happened relatively quickly. For me, it was more of a mindset shift, and the mindset shift was really creating a culture around me that wasn't all about myself. I think up to the 500,000 was kind of like from an ego standpoint. You know,
because you can do it. You can like just strap it on your back.
I'm going to push my ass off, right? And so, and we'll talk about that in a second. What happens when you end up doing that too much? But that was really just this mentality, is that I'm going to create this culture. This culture is that people are going to learn this principle of chiropractic. They're going to come here for the principle of chiropractic, not me. We've got the systems in place to be able to make that happen. And at that point, you know, everybody was bought in. So when I say bought in, it was like my team was bought in 100%. The patients were bought in. So because of that, then we ended up, it was largely a lot of referrals coming into the practice as well as people that were doing wellness plans that weren't going to go anywhere. This was it. This was their healthcare plan was my office for the rest of their life. So that's beautiful, especially when you have automatic money coming in on the 1st and the 15th of the month, every single month, that you're not having to worry about. So my whole thing was, I want to make sure that all those people who are continuing care in the office, that actually is what's paying for my overhead. Everything above that then just is all net, which was really fun.
The auto debits are just, they're always the best. Like that monthly recurring that you can just depend on, 1st and the 15th, that money's coming in. It just, it takes it takes that guillotine away, you know?
It does. And I think one of the things that we did, we really, I know I did for sure, and I probably learned this from you or one of our coaches, but we really sat down and created, what was our ideal patient? Like, who do we want to attract? You know, if you could have the perfect patient, who is that person? Well, they're one obviously that brings their family, right? They get their kids checked. They refer others. They're positive. They're coming to the workshops. They're bought in, like you said, to the culture of what we're doing. And once we really got really specific with that, it was crazy how now the money went to a whole different level, because you're having more fun in practice. And if you're not having fun in practice and you're blowing through your own health, any amount of money that you're making, it doesn't have sustainability. It's going to go away one way or another.
Right.
So having fun in practice, the most fun you'll ever have is when you're seeing patients that you love to work with, and you're creating a culture that attracts that patient. And so that's
I think when it becomes about the culture, it also, like, if you want to bring in an associate, it's a whole lot easier if it's not just all about you and like you're the magic hands. It's like, but if they believe in chiropractic, a good chiropractor is delivering chiropractic, so it doesn't have to be me.
Now I was like, listen, what would y'all do if I died today? You're just going to stop getting your spine adjusted? You're going to stop eating healthy food? You're going to start going back to your doctors and getting flu shots? Like, I've done my job, right? I'm teaching you this principle. We're showing you the way and giving you this opportunity, but it couldn't be us driven. It had to be a whole culture that was created, and now it's just the money flows in a completely different way. And your relationship to the money's different. Because in the early days, you're hanging on to it, and you're scared. Especially if you came from a place where you didn't have any money. And there's an unhealthy relationship there. I remember
in Texarkana, everybody's rich, so.
In Texarkana back then, everybody's driving around in Trans Ams, jean shorts, braided belts, mullets.
I think they still are.
If I'd have had a mullet and a Trans Am, I could have built the largest clinic in 6 months ever.
Hey, here's the real talk: is if you can build a large practice in Texarkana, then you can build anything anywhere.
That's right.
Dude, honestly, man, small town, all cash.
Yeah, right.
Without a mullet, I pulled that off.
That's hard to do. That's hard to do.
It is.
It's like it's like they don't even let you in the city limits, I don't think, anymore without one.
Oh, dear God, no. Monster truck rallies, you take your girlfriend there. It's awesome.
That's right. You got to be careful though, because those monster truck drivers, you don't want to. I mean, that's Mr. Steal Your Girl right there in Texarkana.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
All right, so you guys both made it to $1 million relatively quickly. Like, was it second year?
No.
For me, that was going to be later. So $2 million consistently. When I say consistently, because it would go up and down. It took about 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, about the same. I was on a fast track because once again, I already had the $1 million practice I was modeling after.
We get it.
So,
we get it. He did a good job.
Anyway,
he did a good job.
Quicker. It was like my little brother who got to do all the stuff I got to do, but he got to do it 3 years sooner.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. So then after $1 million, what was it that really allowed you to continue to grow? Was it just like the culture and it was just like that flywheel effect, or what was it that allowed you to, like, how high did it go? Like, what was the best year that you ever had in collections?
So the best year in collections was probably about, for myself personally, was 1.7 million. And I don't know about you, but
yeah, I mean, the consistency of that was the key, right? So I remember the first time my office manager came in and she handed me a check, and it was only like for $67,000 for that month.
The sky is
falling. She thought she was about to get fired because that was such a horrible collection of cash that we'd gotten so used to. But that's what type of culture we had created and the expectation that was on everybody, which was pretty cool. But who would like to get a $67,000 check for cash, and now you're disappointed because the consistency of what you had done was creating a level of income. And it was great because you never worried about the money anymore, because when you have that consistency of that cash flow, you know that you can go generate that money every single month. And it became like a challenge, right? Because you're like, now bonusing people as the office makes more is a lot more fun, right? And the team gets involved and they're part of it. So anyway, about that same time frame, that consistency began to really happen.
What was the highest number that you hit in a year?
Yeah, about 1.5.
1.5. It seems like when I asked that 1.3 to 1.5, even the ones that build it to like the 2.5, they're like, at that point you have so much staff and so much overhead that 1.5, 1.3 area is where it's the office seems to be running the best, and it's the most profitable for the owner, especially if they're still involved with seeing the patients.
Well, you're totally right with that. And then there's going to be a roadblock you hit. We hit a big roadblock once we had built that, because that's where we kind of did get stuck, if you could say getting stuck at 1.3 to 1.7 million dollars cash practices. Those are great practices, but we'll go there in a second. But for me personally, I hit a wall, and I didn't have the bandwidth or the acumen to go in and create solutions past that point.
Got it.
So I lost my health, was taken out of my practice, almost died with a late stage cancer diagnosis. So I hit a wall.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, because you guys seem very entrepreneurial, just like in spirit. Do you? And I'm just like, I'm always like curious as to what other entrepreneurs that are chiropractors think about this. Do you think that everybody kind of hits that one, not everybody, but the vast majority of like the smartest, the best, the most entrepreneurial chiropractors in the profession, because it's a brick and mortar location, when they hit that 1.5, 1.7 range, do you think that's where they start to think about the coaching or the leverage media or the whatever it is that they think is maybe a little bit more scalable, and that's why chiropractic doesn't have like hospitals, doesn't have like the best entrepreneurs never seem like they see the scalability of chiropractic outside of maybe like Chiro One or the Joint, and they're not, I don't know if they're really chiropractors, but I just never, I see everybody get to this point, and you guys are so smart, but it's then we like go into something that's not having practices. Like what's your like thoughts on that?
We did exactly that though. And so our thinking was, okay, how do we help more people? How do we leverage it? How do we scale it? And so we started offices called Elevation Health Offices.
Okay.
Yeah. And so in doing that, so we had 17 offices running our systems around the country. But that
you guys were doing it.
That created this whole other thing where we're traveling all of the time. Profitability went way down. Yeah. That was one of those things, throwing money out the window, out the sunroof. It was going out of
Trans Ams.
It was going out of everywhere. So for us, we went into that model because, like he said, with losing our health, you know, for myself, I lost my health as well. You said, you know, what was that thing? You know, how much did you collect, or when did you see the most growth? Yeah. The most growth I saw was growth in myself. Yeah. So at that point, you know, we'd already passed the seeing 1,000 a week, going over 1 million, and then it started becoming more about helping more people. And losing our health helped us to be able to scale things in a way that allowed us to be able to do that. Because at that point, ego is out the window, right? Yeah. For me, I injured my back, 4 herniated discs in my lower back, so I couldn't walk. I was immobile. So because I was immobile, I couldn't actually see patients anymore. So that forced me to grow and learn how to be able to bring associate doctors into the practice in a way that was going to be a win-win for not only myself but also the associates. And they call it associate for a reason, because there's a lot of associates that feel like they get completely screwed in that model. And for a lot of docs, they don't hang around for a long time, or there's some resentment that goes back and forth with that. They just don't know how to do that. So for myself, I had to learn how to do that because I couldn't actually walk.
Well, I think that when I talk to people that are like scared to like pull the trigger on getting associates, I'm like, you should just fake an injury. Like, just show up with a cast, and like it'll force you to do it, because you don't have to actually get late stage cancer or like blow out your back. Just like act like you did, and it'll have it. So okay, one more question before I get into the health that I know, like I want to find out more about. I want to talk to you both about like exiting. So like a lot of chiropractors get to this point where like you guys, I'm sure know Stephen Franson. Like he's got his CEO program. So like 4 stages, and that last stage is exit, and there's just so many offices that die with the doctor's life or their career, and those communities lose out, right? So what was it that allowed you guys, like what was your thought process on exiting, and what was your experience with that? Well, any tips you could give on the way to do it right?
This is a big mistake we make as chiropractors. We have these huge hearts, we want to serve, but it's a business. You have to have a business hat, right, and a serving hat. And a lot of times for us chiropractors, we just don't embrace the business hat. And if you don't look at it as a business, then you're willing to sacrifice your own health, life, family, and blow through relationships because you're not seeing it the way it should be seen. The purpose of a business is what? To grow it, sell it, or replicate it. Right. And then, of course, logistically for me, I'm in small town Texarkana. It's only going to grow so big, and then I was stuck. So what am I going to do now? So I think understanding that it is a business, how do we operate it and treat it as such? And then that's okay to look at it and treat it that way. Because we do owe it philosophically to be sound, but we also owe it to be business savvy as well, which says a lot to a community that may not trust chiropractors because of the fact that sometimes we're sloppy business people. We should be the best business people because we have a great business model. I mean, is there a better business model?
There really isn't.
Opening up a practice and the cash flow and the impact you can make. It's crazy.
Also, like it's so nice we have such a perfect product that it's just, we're so lucky because like if you go out and do other businesses, you soon realize that all businesses are not as fun as like 100%. Treating patients and them loving you. it's just like, oh God, like I thought this is how all businesses ran. It is not.
You don't need $250,000 to go start a chiropractic office.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, you can start for cheap.
Yeah.
You just need your hands. Heck, I had portable tables where my tables.
And your parents' house. You gotta have that.
Yeah, well, you gotta leverage your parents.
Yeah, right.
We established that early. You screw people over on the front end with leveraging their home.
That's right.
Always.
Always. So when you sold recently, right?
I did.
Yeah.
It's been over a year now.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right.
Pretty recent.
And how was how did you value the practice?
So
did you get paid in one chunk, or was it like a payout over time?
Well, the interesting thing is it was going to be paid out over time. Yep. And so it's going to be paid out over time. He made a down payment on the practice. I valued it. I used a company to value the practice, so they gave me a valuation of the practice.
Do you mind, like, how do they? Because I just hear different things. Like, how did they?
So what they for my practice was largely a cash practice. So because it was cash practice, they wanted to see exactly what it is that the cash flow was.
Yep.
You know, what were the assets of the practice? What was coming in on a monthly basis? How many patients were on monthly auto debit, monthly auto pay? So they take a look at that.
Which that helps.
Well, it helps huge, especially if you're not insurance. You're not getting insurance checks on a monthly basis to be able to show them that. So they based it on what the net was.
Got it.
So they looked at the net for 3 years, and then they valued it based on that.
Perfect.
So the doc who came in, it was interesting because I didn't want anybody to know that I was selling the practice. It's kind of one of those things where, because of, like, I was doing a lot of coaching myself, I was, people, knew what we were up to, but on the same token, at that point, I didn't want my patients to know that I was selling the practice, because then they might feel like they were going to, nobody was going to be there for them. It was going to be somebody new. So when I put it up there, it was like kind of like an anonymous phone number that that was up there, and somebody who had my phone number, and their phone called me. They were like, "Hey, I went to call this phone number, and your name popped up. Are you selling the practice?" And it was a chiro who I mentored, who had actually precepted in my office from when he was in school.
Nice.
And so he calls me up, "Are you selling the practice?" And I said, "Yes, as a matter of fact, I am." He's like, "You know what? I got out of practice for about a year. I'm wanting to come back in. I'm wanting to live in that area, and I'm interested in the practice." I said, "Yeah, okay, great." So we talked, and at the time, he didn't have the funds to be able to pay for the practice. He didn't have a rich uncle or anything like that. And so I said, "Why don't you come in as an associate doc first and start seeing patients?" And he did. So he came in as associate doc. He saw that, everything that we were talking about as far as the cash flow, it was kind of practice that he wanted.
Yeah.
And so we made an agreement to where he was going to pay a percentage per month. He made a down payment and then a percentage per month going towards the sale of the practice. He learned very quickly when he saw the income that was coming in that he's like, "Holy crap, I'm losing out on a percentage that could be coming directly to me."
Yeah.
So that lasted for, I think, we did that for maybe 2 months, and then he comes to me, he's like, "All right, Rob, I'm just going to go ahead and pay for the whole entire practice."
Yeah.
I don't know where he got the money from, but all of a sudden, magically,
Parents.
the funds appeared, and he bought the practice that way. So that way, 100% was coming back to him. So that's how I sold it. And the great thing was the transition, because he was an associate doctor. The patients were comfortable with him.
I think that's the best way to do it.
And I was already not adjusting people.
Yeah.
By that point, other associate doctors were adjusting people. Patients would see me.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a shock to the system there. And now, I mean, it was 100% seamless doing it.
Both of us had already kind of transitioned years ago, having other doctors adjusting, so we weren't the main adjusting doctor. A lot of times our ego says, "Well, if I don't adjust the patient, nobody will come back."
Yeah.
I don't know. You'd be surprised.
They don't like you that much.
You've got 2 or 3 that really want you, but everybody else is going to be just fine, especially if you've done your job teaching them and creating the culture that allows them to come in and get the results. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk now about the transition into what you guys are doing now. So give me a little bit of story. We've kind of alluded to, like, both of you losing your health. Start with you, because yours was pretty severe.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I got stuck in a lot of things in life. But I kind of blew through my own health with just this massive dedication to the practice. And there's nothing wrong with working hard and serving your community, but I don't think God's asking any of us to blow through relationships, our own health, to bend over another patient, right? So we have to keep a healthy balance there.
I mean, you don't want to die adjusting an atlas.
How many people said that on a table? "I want to die for my last adjustment when I'm 98 years old." I'm like, I don't.
That's the dumbest advice I've ever heard now. It was cool to hear back then.
Yeah.
Now I look at that, I'm like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't want to die over a patient when I'm 98 years old broke. I want to have multiple layers of cash flow and passive income and make a bigger impact. So Mine was forced because I got sick, right?
Yeah.
So like you said, you don't have to get sick or blow out your back. You can proactively do it, but I did get sick. I got diagnosed with late-stage cancer. It was in my lymphatics, liver, stomach. It was everywhere, and they gave me 2 months to live.
Wow.
So they're like, hey, it's chemotherapy, it's radiation, it's a drug trial, it's hospice care, and I'm thinking, none of that sounds good. And so really what saved my own life at the time wasn't really a chiropractic adjustment. It was knowing, wait a second, we know that health is the norm, disease is the abnorm, and I don't want to treat the condition. I want to treat the person who has the condition because I didn't want to survive, to be quite honest. I wanted to thrive through this and come out of it stronger because that gave me an opportunity to go through something because I knew if I could get through it, I'd be stronger and unstoppable.
Yeah.
So then I'm going into Spain. I'd heard a doctor there. We both heard about this guy. He wasn't treating conditions. He was helping people adapt again chemically, physically, emotionally with holistic protocols.
Yeah.
And I got a 20-second consult when I go over there. So you want to hear this consult?
Yes.
Here's your $30,000 20-second consult.
The scripts,
doc.
the new scripts.
You're talking too much. You're convincing people. Be more certain.
Yeah.
So I walk into the room. They did my blood work. I'm waiting to meet with this doctor. He walks in. He points at me and he goes, "I'll do nothing that will kill you." I'm like, "Well, thank God," because they couldn't offer me that in America.
Right.
And then he goes, "I don't know if you're going to make it, but I'll do everything I can to get your body adapting again, chemically, physically, and emotionally. I think it's your best chance to not only get well, but for the cancer not to come back." And then he goes, "Randy, no need for theatrics. Are you ready to get started?" Mic drop. That's it.
Well, I mean, he totally screwed that up. He should have been like, get your credit card out, hold it up in the air.
Dude, I already had it
Because you had a pocket full of cash anyway.
Dude, I brought a lot of cash over there.
Yeah.
But the point of that was I didn't ask him for more research. I didn't ask him what
It was
type
a certainty.
of doctor he was.
It was a certainty.
I didn't ask him how long it was going to take.
Yeah.
It was the certainty, and it wasn't because I was in a state of panic or fear. I was just as scared in America, and I told those doctors no. I told him yes, because I believed I found the guy who could help me get what I wanted.
Yeah.
And that was huge for me. So long story short, several months there, got well. We became students of this doctor, came back, ready to help people in a whole new way, really launch Happy Healthy. That's really how the genesis of the company was born. We got into weight loss specifically because I'd always wanted to help people with their weight because so many people would come through our offices, right?
Yeah.
And you can adjust them all day long, but they're inflamed, they're addicted to sugar,
Yeah.
they're overweight, they're not holding adjustments, they're not healthy, right?
Yeah.
You can have a clear nervous system and jump off a building, you're still gonna die.
Right.
There's limitations that matter. So my youngest brother, Ryan, he was 27 years old, he died, massive heart attack.
Oh man.
Crazy, 100 pounds overweight. So, and at that time, of course, Rob was overweight, blew out his back. We're not doing well. So that's what we decided to do is help people like my brother, help people. Because we had this like epiphany over there. Like everything you don't want in life has this metabolic inflammatory component.
Yeah.
Right? So, and that still goes back to chiropractic, right? Because
Yeah.
people don't need chiropractic care from birth to death. They need no interference.
Right.
Who's going to teach them how to not interfere and create an environment where great things can happen?
Right.
So that's kind of the genesis of Happy Healthy with clinical weight loss. Of course, SCT oil was
SCT.
born. But you may want to share kind of what you went through too, because at the same time I'm dying and taken out of my practice, he's in the worst moment of his life. We were not happy.
Is it at the same time?
It was at the same exact time.
We
Wow.
were sick, miserable, depressed, and almost dead. That was our
Terrible
company.
name for a company.
We were not the happy, healthy guys back then.
No,
So,
not at all.
It was. I interviewed David 𝗬𝗵𝗏 yesterday, and he was saying like the exact same thing about just like being inflamed. It doesn't matter like if you clear that interference. If that inflammation is there, you can only do so much.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
you
true.
got to bring them down underneath that threshold of where they become inflamed.
Yeah, that doctor in Spain, I'll say this really quickly, then Rob maybe share kind of what you were going through, but that doctor in Spain, he really got our chiropractic foundation, because he goes, I bring the matter to the force, you guys bring the force to the matter, but you need both, right?
Right.
So you do need both, and so that's the beauty of what we do now with Happy Healthy. We're bringing more than just chiropractic adjustments. We're really bringing everything together to create that environment, once again, where great things can happen.
Yeah.
You can create an environment where health just dominates and it thrives through anything. And if you can overcome late stage cancer, you can go through anything else.
Yeah.
A lot of these things we think we can't get through, it's like, go talk to the person who's been there and done that, and
Yeah.
give you the hope, because you can, right?
Yeah. How long ago was this? What year was it?
10 years ago.
Yeah,
Oh,
July
wow.
2010 was
Wow.
diagnosed, yeah.
So you blew out your back.
Yeah, so blow out my back, immobile, can't walk. He's got cancer, so I'm struggling. And you know, thank God for that, because it allowed me to be able to learn how to do things differently, and let me know how to do, like, communicate through Facebook Lives or videos or webinars and things like that, because I was in my home laying in bed. I couldn't get out, but I still had this message to get out there. So we get back and I'm like, all right, I've got to do something. If all chronic illness has a metabolic inflammatory component, why don't I do this? Because really, honestly, my next option was going to be surgery, and I knew I didn't want to get my back cut into. In fact, I'd already consulted with a doc that was here in Las Vegas, a surgeon, and even the surgeon said, hey, Rob, last thing you want to do is the surgery. Why don't you try some other conservative things before you come see me, which was super cool. And I said, okay. So I said, let me do this. So I did it in about 7 days into me doing the same things that we were doing for Randy. The inflammation in my lower back was gone. I was walking and I'm like, no freaking way, because I had already been to chiropractors all over the country in order to be able to get help. And so I was doing that. Not only did I was doing that at the same time, I was losing massive amounts of weight at the same exact time as well. And so where I would get stuck trying to lose weight, because I had to be perfect with my diet and exercise leading up to that. Like, I could barely eat like 1,000 or 1,200 calories before I would gain weight. And here I was.
hate going out to eat with me.
Freaking sucked, because I'd be like picking at my food. He's eating everything.
Metabolism. Like, you gotta finish that, dude.
No, it was so irritating. I would look at the bread and gain weight, right? And so, like, coming to events like this, I'd be like dreading going out to dinner, because I'm like, I would pay the price the next day. I wouldn't be able to walk. So at this point, I'm losing weight. The inflammation is gone. I'm like, this is freaking amazing.
And then at the time, like, what was it that you were doing that was allowing you to decrease the inflammation? Was it the SCT oil?
So it was a combination. It was the testing that he did when we were in Spain that could be able to show us exactly what the metabolic markers were inside in the body. It was the food sequencing, eating the right foods, the SCT. Although the SCT oil wasn't a product at that point, we were having to get it from other sources.
We were sourcing it from like sheep and goat cheeses, hard cheeses that are rich in short chain fats.
That's what SCT stands for.
Short chain triglyceride.
Got it.
You know, your body has to have them. It makes them. It ferments carbohydrate in the gut to produce it. They're critical, and most people are deficient in them.
Got it.
And then, of course, the microbiome now with most patients are, you know, it's in dysbiosis. They've got SIBO. They have liver congestion, no gallbladder, so they can't even make these fats. And so they're over dependent on long chain fats, and the inflammatory cascade is in full effect. These patients are sick, unhealthy. So you can mitigate that directly, which is why we developed it. So we weren't as efficient at getting it before, but we knew it was critical, and it became a huge part of our protocols. And it was born out of what the heck. I've never seen that.
No, absolutely. So I lose the weight, I lose the 65 pounds, and even in that process, it wasn't, you know, I was doing that, and that was the thing that got me over the hump. Because, like I said, if there's somebody doing something that I feel like they're the best at it, I want to have them work on me. So I even flew out to Dean Harrison's office over in Eagle, Idaho, to have him do chiropractic biophysics on me. So I literally had them working on me. I was going through this at the exact same time. So I was always doing that. I was also getting the structure in my spine corrected at the same time. And it was great too, because I had already then created a business model where my chiropractic business could actually run without me being there. You know, if it had been, 5 years prior to that, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I would have been still trying to figure stuff out in the practice doing that stuff. So from a business perspective, it was great. I'm like literally laying on a table in Eagle, Idaho, and at the same time, my staff is telling me what our collections numbers were for that week, and collecting more than ever before, doing it that way, and it didn't require me to be there. So lose the weight, and then after that happened, we're like, all right, so let's figure out how to be able to show other people how to do exactly what we're doing, because it's a lot harder to communicate, hey, let's help get you healthy, or let's help get rid of cancer. You can't do that in the United States, right? The FDA and the pharmaceutical industry doesn't like that, but if we can be able to help people with their metabolism and their weight issues like we did for myself, then we really have something, and that's where Happy Healthy or Happy Healthy Thin was born.
That's great. So Happy Healthy Thin was like the first iteration of this, and now it's kind of evolved into Happy Healthy Life, right?
Totally, we kind of launched it as clinical weight loss. It seemed like the best way to get it out there, grow it, build it, and clinically,
and this is something that doctors would have in their office for patients, or is it something that you were going straight to consumer with?
Well, we were 100% in-house, containing it, Happy Healthy Thin, proving concept, working through things. We developed the SCT oil. When that was implemented, we saw even more changes, refining the testing. Everything was just going through this refining process to prove the concept and get it dialed in. So it could be replicated. It could be sustained. It could be bought by another doctor and used as a licensing agreement, which happened later. But yeah, it was really all in-house contained initially, and it was beautiful because a lot of chiropractors want to have it in their business, and they're doing something outside of what they're passionate about, like they get into real estate.
They're flipping homes.
Yeah, or they throw $25,000 at 𝗀𝗶𝗏. A gaming program.
More money.
You're investing in Cold Stone creameries. You have no passion about this stuff.
Right.
I don't know anything about that stuff. I've never done that. I've always, actually, I've done all that stuff. And I've lost a lot of money because every time you're not passionate about something, you're going to lose it. If it's a money grab, trust me, you're going to lose the money.
Yeah.
But this became a beautiful way to launch it out of the chiropractic because now you're bringing in people who are going to be great candidates for chiropractic care, who need to lose weight. So it became a part of the business model in the chiropractic business, and it wasn't like something completely outside the realm of teaching these same principles of above, down, inside out.
What year did you guys launch that?
That was in 2005.
Oh, really? So it was like even before the cancer.
No,
the cancer was like
July 2010 was when I got sick.
Right.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
When did you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, 50. Okay.
I'm sorry. 5 years ago.
Okay.
So 2015.
Got
sorry.
it.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm keeping you honest here.
So the 5 years ago. Yeah.
Got it. So you guys did that. You've been growing that within the profession, right? And now you're starting to open up, like you're writing the book, I think you said earlier.
Yeah, Happy Healthy Life is in editing and ready to be launched. It tells our stories, the genesis of what we did with the Happy Healthy, and then looking at life through these Happy Healthy lenses, which is really a chiropractic way of looking at life, where you look at things completely different. Because we know you talk to people and they don't even know what health is.
Right.
And until you can teach them and show them what that looks like, they'll never make change, they'll never create change, and they'll never get the life that they deserve to have. So the Happy Healthy Life is the life living with eyes wide open, right? Where you can truly see and decipher through and navigate through all the crap that's out there, which most people have a hard time with. I know I did.
Yeah.
So everybody does.
What's been some things that you've learned about going from brick and mortar mindset to trying to be content marketing based, adding value out to just like anybody having a direct to consumer facing brand? So what's been, because that's definitely like a mindset shift, I think.
Oh, absolutely. There was a huge learning curve there. So I know I started reading as many books that I could, look at other people that were doing things like...
What were some of your favorite books on that?
Favorite books was all the books that were written by Russell Brunson.
I literally gift expert secrets and .com secrets to anybody who's like trying to like do something in a like info product content marketing way.
Yeah, because we were 15 years late to the game, man. We're the brick and mortar chiropractors. We build the big cash practices. We were behind. We didn't know any of that stuff. But didn't give us an excuse, right?
Jeff Walker was another one. And so
product launch formula.
Exactly. So all of those different types of things, we were just like devouring those things to try to learn how to be able to get this out. Hired a coach to be able to do that. I hired Ed Osborne. We utilized him to be able to help us as far as our launch goes. We were talking to different people doing it in the industry. We just got through talking to a good friend of ours, 𝗀𝗚 𝗏𝗏, seeing what he was doing, see what was working, see what wasn't working, and it was a whole new, different mindset shift for sure.
Yeah. Alex and I are actually working together on TikTok.
Oh, nice.
So I have to like tackle him at some point. Like I've been
there, done that.
Because I hate doing Zoom interviews. So Alex and I've been like waiting until we were in like the same physical space to like do an in-person interview. So he like came by 3 times yesterday, and I was like in the middle of one.
If you need help form tackling him, just let us know.
We'll just gang tackle him. So what's been like in terms of like content marketing? Because I'm always just interested in how people are thinking about that. What's been the things that have been really successful for you to like help you get your message out and start to build your tribe?
The most successful thing, and it's just like we were talking about, even building a chiropractic, clinic, is really just forming relationships with the people who are really interested in getting healthier. So the way we did it was through Facebook Lives. That was probably the one thing that was the best thing that we ever did. So we just said, okay, every Wednesday at 12:30, we're going to do a Facebook Live, and we did that for probably 2 years, and that's how we launched SCT Oil. So just through that one thing alone, that got us into the functional medicine world. They got us into consumer. They got people going to the website buying things. We didn't spend a dime on that. In fact, with SCT Oil, when we launched it, we're like, how are we going to do this?
we have this great product, but nobody knows what it is, and we don't even know if anybody wants it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So we called the way that having the person that was manufacturing it for us, that was a complete God thing. Just being able to get in contact with that person to be able to do it, because we knew we had something to get out there, just didn't know how or what really. In fact, when we met with that person to make it, we didn't even have a name for it. We're like, what are we going to call this thing? We're like literally sitting in the parking lot of, what was that brewery that we were at?
It's Sierra Nevada in Chico, California.
Yeah. So after a couple beers, we're
when all the best ideas come out.
Yeah. A couple beers, we're standing out in the parking lot. We're like, why don't we just call it 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗛𝗲? We're like, surely that website has already been taken. And I get on my phone, go to GoDaddy, and I'm like, oh my God.
Can we just talk about that for a second? Is there any better feeling when you go to GoDaddy and you type it in and you're like, come on, baby.
All right.
And you're like, fuck yeah.
And it's not like some obscure dot whatever.
Exactly. You know? The biggest accomplishment that I had in 2019 was I have a calendar for like scheduling people, like calls with people. So if you're like, hey Nick, when can we get on the call? Instead of doing the like 19 email back and forth, I'm like, hey, here's my calendar. Just so every time it would be like, it's like messenger.com/4697. Every time I have to look it up, copy and paste it. So I'm like, I need to just get a URL to like redirect to it. And so I'm like, I need something. I'm really big on like, it needs to be just like simple that someone can like quick, like you can tell someone, or they can just like quickly see, or you can remember. Yeah. And so I looked up 30minCall.com, like 30-minute call.
Yeah.
And it was there, and I'm just like,
no way.
Are you fucking kidding me? I'm like, how is this available? So I look up 15-minute call, 60-minute call, 90-minute call. They're all there. I'm just like,
no way.
Thank God. So now it's like whenever I'm like, all right, let's schedule a call. Here's my calendar. It's like 30minCall.com. It's just like, so that was my big accomplishment in 2019. So I'm really proud of that. But yeah, I just love that GoDaddy moment.
I could not believe, like, how is this not?
It's so simple. It's like,
nobody's created this. It didn't exist. Like
and I love it because it like forces me to say like, what's 𝗧𝗵𝗲 mean? Oh, let me tell you all about what it is.
Totally. So this is kind of how we launched it. You want to talk about how we just basically gathered influencers and sent them 𝗧𝗵𝗲 oil.
Yeah. So we're talking to the manufacturer. You know, we don't have any money to put into this because we don't know it's going to work, right? So
this is 2015, or is this a few years after that?
This is after that.
This is what, 2017?
2017.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's 2017.
Yeah, it was.
May of 2017.
All right. So manufacturer.
And so we're like, all right. So what do we do? How do we do this? And so we're bootstrapping. We told our manufacturer, we're like, all right. So we're going to buy 100 jars of it and just send it to us. And what we did is we just sent all 100 of those jars out to people who we knew or had some kind of a connection with. Sent them a jar and said, hey, if you'll try this, post it on social media, that would be great.
Yeah. And
that's how we did it. So the next thing you knew, that's how we got all the testimonials on if you go to the website, there's tons of testimonials on there with those influencers. That's exactly what it is that we did.
Yep. Who was the most influential influencer? Who did the best job?
Who did the best job? That's a great question.
I would say in our world it was David Jockers, probably in the chiropractic world.
Absolutely.
Because he really latched onto it, did a lot of promo stuff even on his own just to talk about it, especially in that keto world that everybody's in.
Yeah.
So in our world, him, obviously our good friend Josh Axe has really advised us, made a huge impact for us.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that conversation. So we're talking. So we mentored him when he was in chiropractic school.
Yeah.
And now he's funny. Teaching us.
And he's teaching us. So we call him up and we're like, hey man, we've got this product, this 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗛𝗲. He's like, you know guys, I don't know if that could actually work. But you know what? If you guys can come up with something else, that would be, different or better, I think you go with something else. But this isn't gonna. I don't think it's gonna hit.
Whoever knew Josh was such a hater.
And he goes. I'll just. And this is Josh talking. He's like, I'll just be honest, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. And we're like, all right, cool. So at that point, we're like, well, let's send the 100. We had already bought the 100 jars. Let's send them out and see what happens. And then a year later, we're having a conversation now how to be able to expand that. We actually met with him we had lunch with him in Nashville. And it's when we were trying to prove concept on the book. And so we're in Nashville and we're having lunch with him and he's like, all right, how have you guys done? What are your sales for the first year? And we tell him what the sales are. So the very first year in 𝗧𝗵𝗲, we did $250,000 the first year and had no idea what we were doing. When I say no idea, like zero idea.
Right.
And he looks at it and he goes, wow. He goes, okay, and now, then he started giving us the strategies on how to be able to grow that.
He did give us kind of an apology, like, I might have been wrong. I think people do want it, so okay, here's what we're gonna do now.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny.
It's funny, Josh. I think Josh does a better job in terms of understanding the strategies of content marketing and marketing in general than like any other person that I like
100.
have. Like that's not like up here, you know.
Yep.
I mean, he's up here now, but they just like started from nothing and went there.
Yeah.
When I was starting Leverage, you know, I love Gary Vaynerchuk, and so he was really the reason why I started this content marketing agency. But I didn't really know all of the details of the ins and outs of like Facebook and like the platforms and the strategies and whatever. And so for the first maybe like 18 months, I probably spent about $250,000 in like mentorships and coaching and like weekends, and because in marketing it's not like chiropractic, where chiropractic has to price things for the average chiropractor, so it's always like way underpriced for like guys like us. We're like, is it really just? It's only $500 for this thing,
right.
And I'm just like, but marketing, they're really good at pricing things, and you're always they're really good at selling it too. So you're just like, man, I really have to go do that. It's $8,000. Okay, I guess so. But everywhere I went, the ones that I was just like, these guys really get it, because I was pretty good at like vetting like if it was total bullshit or not.
Yeah.
And everywhere I went, Josh and his team had either just left or they were on their way. And I would just, and it was really like he had just started to really become a thing. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, he is going to absolutely crush it, because he's like an implementer. Like when I like observe from afar, it's like I would go and learn all the stuff and then I'd implement 10% of it. But when I'd see his stuff, I'm like, he implemented 98% of what I just learned.
And he
like
did it yesterday.
the next day.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so for clarification too, with the SCT oil when we launched online, we didn't take all of our cash flow and the success and then throw that money over to the other business.
Yeah.
A lot of docs make that big mistake, or they think they have to have a lot of money to even start something. We did it without any. I mean, we didn't take on any debt. We didn't funnel any money.
No, it was
over
a
from any other
separate. It was
business.
like literally a separate business that we weren't going to pull from something else, because we had to prove the concept that it was even going to work.
So it took a little bit slower maybe than we would prefer, but that's okay. Sometimes we get in this race. And it's like, well, wait a second. Who are you racing against? I don't know. It was interesting how we'd never launched anything like that.
Yeah.
Because we're not the most impatient people in the world.
Right.
You know.
Did you have to go get a new overhead projector, or you used?
We got the merry-go-round slide.
Okay.
Remember, and then it would click the slides around. Yeah, we invested in one of those.
Yeah, that's my favorite scene from Mad Men. Have you ever watched Mad Men?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, so I'm gonna send you the GIF.
Okay.
And I'm gonna send you
Do we need to be writing this down?
the wheel. No, I remember, because these are things that are important to me.
Gotcha, okay.
Right? So, God, they wanted to call it the wheel. Now I can't even remember. It was a carousel. Yeah. So Kodak wanted to call it the wheel, and he like, it's this just like amazing like pitch, and he wanted to rename it the carousel, and like people are like crying at the end. So you're gonna like, I love that scene. So yeah, if you guys like any listener who does not watch Mad Men Carousel, just YouTube that. It's like the best like selling thing I've ever seen.
Done.
So all right, but I'll get it to you.
Okay.
They have to look it up. They got some work to do.
Yeah.
All right. So the book's launching when? It's with the editor, you said.
Yep. So
Is it going to be like a full on, like you're doing a book tour for it, or is it self-publishing? Like, what's the details on that?
Yes and yes.
Perfect.
And so both those things. So it'll launch within the next 3 months.
Yeah.
And so as we get that out, we've got some cool stuff happening with SCT oils. We've got version 3.0 that's going to be launching, and so we're going to launch them at the same time. So
Nice.
as soon as that version is ready to go, then it's going to come out, and we will be doing a media tour around the country.
Awesome.
I'm talking about the happy, healthy life. Once again, who doesn't want to have a happy, healthy life?
Yeah.
You know?
I'm excited for you guys too. Do you have like a back end on the book? Is there like a book funnel and
Absolutely.
yeah?
Of course, Russell.
Of course.
There is.
We got the funnel ready to go, man.
Josh would like disown you if you didn't, right?
Yeah, the funnel literally is like in the parking garage right now, waiting for us to open the garage up and let it out.
And what's like can like give you away what the back end is, or like are there courses, or what's the?
Yeah, so the back end of the book is basically it's a free plus shipping offer, so they'll be able to get the book.
Yeah.
And then within the book, we also have online programs that we do that is a version of the version of when people come into our office to be able to see us for the clinical nutrition, there's a version of that they'll be able to do and get it online.
Perfect.
And so that's part of the back end. Part of the back end is also 𝗧𝗃 oil is part of the back end as well. And so those are a few things that we have going on inside there.
That's awesome.
Of course,
man.
if you want to hear us on audio, our sexy voices will read the book to you.
I mean, I think you guys are a little too good looking just for audio. You got to make sure you get the video too.
Like, it's video, right?
You know, like I mean, he doesn't buy these jackets to just like have them die on a podcast where no one sees it.
For radio.
That's right.
That is true. That's
not a radio.
True story.
No. I will tell you that because you guys haven't launched a podcast yet. You said you were going to with the book.
So the Happy Healthy Life podcast is
I'm
coming.
telling you, man, it's this podcast has been because we do as a content marketing agency. I'm like, why am I not doing more content marketing for my brand? Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah. So we've been doing everything. We're like launching the blog here in about a month or so, but we do a lot of video. But the podcast has been the thing that I get the most feedback on. And I was at a breakfast meeting this morning with a publisher in the chiropractic space, and I was explaining to them of like why podcast would be so valuable for them, because it's the only thing that you can passively, and this is for chiropractors too, if you want your content to be consumed, this has probably been an hour and 15 minutes now. Like I'm bad at judging how long these things are because I get really into them, but I guarantee is going to be the longest one that I've done. But if you want to like really go deep into something, podcast is the only way no one is going to sit and watch a video for an hour and 15 minutes. But you can 2x this and be done with it in 40 minutes. I mean, think about all the stuff that we've covered on this conversation and all the value that you guys have given. And I mean, but no one is going to watch that on a Facebook Live, a Facebook video. So it's like the Facebook Lives are amazing for like what they're amazing for, and podcasts are amazing for what they're amazing for.
Well, agreed.
Yeah. What, just because you guys grew so much on the Facebook Lives, what are some tips that have worked for you guys there now that you're
experts
there?
Probably the biggest one with Facebook Lives and any of those kind of things is just consistency.
Yeah.
Is,
I like that idea of like a time every week.
Yes, same channel, same station.
What is the Facebook page?
The Facebook page is the Happy Healthy Guys.
Got it.
Super simple. Our Instagram is the Happy Healthy Guys, so it's super easy to find us. But consistently, people get used to that. They know that you're going to be on at 12:30 every single Wednesday. That's when I'm going to tune in to be able to digest my content, ask my questions, and then it lives forever.
Yeah. How many followers do you guys have on Instagram and Facebook now?
Facebook, I think, is like probably somewhere between 10,000 and 15,000 people on Facebook. Instagram, not so much. We're building that up. So embarrassing that that's
what we found, and you know this to be true. It's really, we were so
it's not the number of followers.
It's like, how do we bring massive value to our followers? And then we want people who want to engage and buy because they're part of what we're doing. And that's the beauty of it when you have, when you bring a lot of content, a lot of value, and you nurture and culture that group. It's not about having 10,000 if nobody even is involved in what you're doing. And so that's been huge for us. Not that we don't want as many as we can. We know it's going to get even bigger, especially once the book is out. More of our book tour, more of the major markets as we're traveling and on TV. It's going to grow. But we're more worried about, we just said this the other day, it's like, you know what? If we just had one person, how do we take amazing care of just this one person and make them feel like they're just getting, we're over-delivering for them.
Yeah.
So.
And here's the full transparency as well, is we haven't been doing the Facebook Lives for almost a year now. Okay, and the reason I bring that up is because we had to go, sometimes you have to blow stuff up and then rebuild. And so we had to go back and look at, okay, how could we be able to get our content out in a better way? And at the same time, had to go back into the laboratory for our clinical nutrition office to be able to make sure that everything was ready to go for that, so that it could be able to live without us and being dependent on us to be there as well. So as we did that, the Facebook Lives still live on without us, right? It's just all what do they call it? It's green.
Evergreen.
Evergreen. So it's evergreen, and the reason I bring that up because it's always really fun to be able to look on your phone and you see the sales are popping up, and I'm like, wow, we haven't marketed and truly marketed 𝗧𝗃 oil in a long time, and there was a sale just came through for $600.
That's great.
And we're sitting here at a conference and paid for dinner tonight. You know. And
we're having a great dinner today.
Yeah, and
I like it. What type of bottle of wine are we gonna drink?
So you know what I mean by that. That's fun because it was those 2 years of being consistent with it.
Yeah.
You know, you just put that time in, and now that it's selling itself for us. Thank God for that because we're able to, not have to worry about it.
And now we're really taking a lot of the same systems and things we used in the chiropractic businesses, and now to give us what you said, which is our favorite word, freedom.
Yep.
Right, giving us the freedom now to spend more time and energy on this next venture, which is going to be driving more of this online world and building our brand, and that's exciting to us because that gives us the freedom and everybody desires to have, is to impact humanity in a huge way, but not blow through your life, your health, have that freedom, right? That's everything. That's the life of your dreams.
What are you guys doing on YouTube?
So all our content from Facebook has gone over to YouTube as well. So it lives in YouTube. The Happy Healthy Guy is on there as well.
Yeah.
So
how's that do? Because I feel like you guys would be built for YouTube.
We've heard that from a lot of people. For us, it's more of a bandwidth thing that we really haven't spent a whole lot of time because you're right. A lot of the how to do this as far as your health goes, YouTube's a great channel to do that. So we just haven't gotten there only because
I think a lot of our Happy Healthy Thin testimonials have really been more powerful on YouTube.
True.
Driving more of the clinical.
Yeah.
Because the power of a testimony is still undervalued.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll when we get done with this, we'll talk a little bit more about some strategies. I just think Josh is probably not telling you because he doesn't want to try to keep all the secrets.
Yeah, that's right. We're being used.
I feel so dirty.
Yeah. But man, you guys have you're already creating the content. To be able to put that on YouTube, for a national brand, there's very few things more powerful than just being able to show up when people are searching for things. Yeah. And I think YouTube and blog is where Josh grew his thing. So the content creation is usually the hardest part. Like a Facebook Live is very different than a YouTube video. Like YouTube just has to be more intentional and specific. But it's you already know with YouTube it's really just a matter of structuring it the right way so that you're okay, these are the 10 things that I'm going to do this month, and it's maybe it's a 7-minute video, but it answers that one question that's being asked a lot, and you just have to know what are the keywords that are being asked on a regular basis, and then it's they're finding you versus they've got to follow you and then show up on Wednesday at 12:30. It's better when they can discover it. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
So great advice.
We love, great insight and advice for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So anything else that you guys that we didn't, I feel like we covered a lot, but anything that we didn't cover that you guys wanted to talk about with the Happy Healthy stuff?
I think that's really. I mean, we covered a lot of stuff.
We did.
And so
you guys have a lot of experience, so a lot of stuff that I think between blowing up practices, exiting a practice, doing the online stuff. I mean, there's so many docs out there that really value that information on how do you move mindset wise from that. I had to do it with leverage. We just now got rid of our physical location, our office, because I'm just I only got that because I just had an office where we all had to show up, and I just thought that's what you did with a business. But I'm just they could do it from home. I trust them. It's fine, And so it's people are always, they always ask me questions what should I do? Because I don't really deal a lot with the online space. It's more brick and mortar, but for the doctors. But yeah, you guys are doing it. So
that's great. I think our message really is, just continue to move forward through it all, right? Through any adversity, we really look at those, and a Happy Healthy Life says this is an opportunity to grow because we don't grow in our success. We grow through the adversity, and that's where you really learn and to embrace that, right? A lot of times, any doctor, sometimes they wake up and eat one shit sandwich and they tap out. We're willing to eat as many shit sandwiches as we have to, just like you, to ultimately get where we want to go, because what we do has such a bigger purpose and vision than how we feel in the moment. So just that continual desire to move forward and do something bigger than yourself. It's a little cliche, but at the end of the day, right, it's still what it's about.
And when bad shit happens, look at all the good stuff that happened from the bad shit.
Out of our
exactly.
worst moments.
Right.
No, we embrace that and accept that.
And now you have $600 for shit sandwiches.
Dude, I know. $600 dinners every night.
Absolutely. We're not having a $600 dinner. So that is not that is not happening. I've got the business credit card.
So you're saying it's all on my dime if we're doing 600 tonight.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So speaking of where does your money go, you got to know where it's going.
That's right.
But and like you said, this may sound cliche as well, and as I'm thinking about this and wrapping everything up, it's really being crystal clear on your vision.
Yep.
You know, where do you see yourself when you're 90 years old? I look at it now, and I'm 48 years old, right? So at 48 years old, if I live to be 98 years old, right? So I've got, so with that, you know, on the math on that, so I've got, what is that, 40, 50 more summers left, right? That's not very many more, right? I've got 50 more summers to be able to spend wakeboarding with my kids. I don't have a lot of time left. So what does my vision look like when I'm 98? What does my vision look like when I'm 78? What does my vision look like when I'm 68? What does that look like at 58? And we can be really clear on that. Yeah, you can eat a lot of shit sandwiches because you know where it is that you're going.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people may talk about vision or talk about those things, but they really aren't clear on what that really looks like. And so that would be a recommendation that I would have, is just sit down and really get clear on, you know, what is it that you see, and don't just see it, but really feel yourself living in that, and take it all the way, you know, from 50 years out, going all the way down, and going all the way down to where do you see a year from now?
Yeah.
And once in even doing that, I just did this a few weekends ago, and just sitting at the lake, getting clear on that, and what I was seeing for a year from now and then 2 years from now is crazy, because the next thing you know, we have these people call us just out of the blue, and enabling us to be able to pursue an opportunity that we've been talking about, just to know how it's going to get there, and all of a sudden it just freaking appeared.
Yep.
So that's a real thing. So when you get crystal clear, I really believe that God, or whatever you call that, the universe, will bring that to you. So I'm really big on that.
Well, and when you're clear, you're putting it out there, and like people love helping people. You know what I mean? Like if I have some like piece of knowledge in my head that can help you guys be better on YouTube, that's just putting out good karma points.
Absolutely.
But it's like I only know to help you with that if like you tell me what you're trying to accomplish, you know?
Totally.
So.
Yeah, you got to be clear on that.
That's right. Well, guys, man, I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
I think it was maybe like 3 or 4 hours, so I didn't mean for it to go this long.
We like
but
to set records.
That's right. This was a record for sure. So I appreciate your guys' time. Where can they find out more if they want to follow you guys? Website, whatever.
The Happy Healthy Guys across all platforms.
Awesome.
Or happyhealthycentral.com.
Perfect. And sctoil.com.
And sctoil.com.
Thank you. GoDaddy moment.
Yes.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one.